Okay, Tom, talk me through it. It's making a noise already. What is it? What does it do?
Well, this object measures the changes of electric field. As you bring your hand in, we're distorting the electric field that's been created around that rod.
So hang on, I'm going to play this now. It's like
That's right.
theremin.
That's right.
It's like an instrument, and I don't touch it. I just
No.
Well, it's very, very clever. But is it of any use whatsoever?
Oh yes, it will measure the presence of anything that will distort that field. It doesn't have to be a metal object. It can be a gas or a chemical or the human body moving in and out, or you can put it in an engine to measure how fast the engine's going. You could even theoretically, by turning that magnification up, you could watch the moon go over. Well, not done it though.
You can tell you when the moon goes over.
Well, yeah, no, that's an idea. A lot of these things are theoretical, but you could, yeah, theoretically, it'd be fun to try that.
And it's very sensitive because a tiny movement makes a tiny difference.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that does.
It seems there's almost no limit to what these sensors can detect. To prove it, Tom devises a little test for me, finding a needle in a haystack. Well, one slightly different tennis ball out of 500. While my back is turned, Tom injects a little bit of water into a tennis ball. Theremin-type sensors detect the tiniest disturbance to the electric fields around them. It can be hands waving about, or just a little bit of liquid that makes one ball conduct electricity slightly differently, so it will clearly stand out among the 500 other balls. Tom sets me to find the doctored ball. First of all, without a sensor.
It might give you too much help here.
Well, so it's just some invisible difference.
Yep. There's only 500 of them here, so that shouldn't be hard. You got to try. You got to really try. You know?
Are they different weights? Are they? Oh, well, that would take days. I can't pick every one up.
If I could detect changes in electrical fields, finding it would be a walk in the park.
Clearly, I'm not going to find it.
Okay, well, we made you something that's an electric field sensor, so it will find changes in the electric field. So you should be able to use this to find it.
So this works.
Yep.
I'm guessing the same as.
But a bit like the theremin, but it's a more
So I just
more sensitive. Yeah.
All right.
Intuition, logic.
All useless.
All useless, I would say.
It's just that noise that I'm waiting for. Hang on.
Got it. Is that it? Yeah, it's got it.
I've got it. It's just that difference compared to an ordinary one.
That's right.
It doesn't feel any different. It doesn't look any different.
No. Good.
That's one sensitive machine.
So how do the sensors used in a weird musical instrument help the Keck astronomers build their enormous mirror out of 36 segments? For the answer, Keck engineer Craig Nance shows me one of the pieces of the jigsaw.
Here's one of the Keck segments.
So that is one of the segments that makes up the whole mirror then?
That's correct. So each segment has to have the unique part of the overall curve. So each segment is a portion of the curve, and then the next segment picks up the continuation of that curve, so that the entire 36 mirrors all create one beautifully mosaiced.
So they're all together, added together, you've got that constant curve around the whole
That's
thing.
correct.
Sounds simple, but to make the exact right shape, The astronomers must ensure each curved segment lines up perfectly with its neighbour. Where two segments meet, the edges have to make a continuous smooth surface without any steps. If one edge is a tiny bit too high, the mirror won't function. That's where the theremin comes in. Engineers use theremin-type sensors to measure the electrical fields wherever two segments meet. The sensors are so sensitive, they will detect a misalignment of just nanometers. Much in the same way, I was able to spot the tennis ball with a tiny bit of water in it.
This is one of the segments that we've removed that front surface aluminum coating so you can see all of what's going on behind the glass.
So all of this machinery then is constantly measuring and adjusting where this particular mirror is in relation to the rest of it.
That's right. About twice per second, these sensors are being used to figure out where the segment is located and then command it as needed to adjust so that the entire array of mirrors maintains that wonderful optical shape that we need.
And let me guess, the movements, the adjustments are kind of small and precise.
That's right, they are. The optical tolerances we're looking at are about 1/1000th of the thickness of a human hair.
Well, so you've got to position it
That's
to within... This is in
right.
juxtaposition to the one next to it.
That's right.
Within 1/1000th of the thickness of it. That's very precise.
It is.
Making a mirror out of segments like this is a brilliant solution, and it also reduces weight. Astonishingly, though the whole Keck mosaic mirror is 4 times as big as the Hale telescopes, it doesn't weigh any more. Theremin sensors allow Keck's mirrors to provide such clarity and resolution that they can distinguish each headlight on a car 800 kilometers away.
It's mesmerizing to look at the mirror itself because I guess most of us never seen such a perfectly made thing. And quite expensive, I imagine.
Well, when they were built, roughly speaking, about $1 million each, we treat them as the most precious things we have.
But a perfectly aligned mirror isn't all it takes to see amazing images from space. The glass itself needs to be perfectly polished, and not just a quick rub down with a cloth. No. This is polishing on an incredibly small scale. Think of literally polishing atom by atom, and you're getting close. So how on earth do you achieve it with something like this? A sandblaster. Of trillions of miles away, the Keck Observatory first needs to collect vast quantities of light. The huge mirror does just that. But to see tiny details of distant and dim galaxies, Keck's mega mirror also needs to be perfectly smooth. Just one tiny irregularity will distort any images and defeat the whole point of the exercise. Cue our next connection, which takes us back to 1871, just after the American Civil War.
Benjamin Chew Tillman has been a general in the Union Army. Legend has it that Tillman sees patterns etched onto windows by sand blown by the desert winds. Whether or not that's true, Tillman did invent a machine that blasts small particles at high speed.
Today, Tillman's machine is found wherever you want to strip rust or paint or dirt. It's a sandblaster. To see how it scours paint from an automobile wing, I visit the workshop of Hawaii's Mr. Sandman, Bob Freeman.
So this is where it happens.
This is our sandblast room.
That looks like the business end of it.
This is the sandblast nozzle. The abrasive is leaving this nozzle at supersonic speed.
Supersonic?
Right. Directed at the surface, and the particles coming out of the nozzle will take off whatever coating is on the thing that you're sandblasting.
Okay, so I just point that at the thing.
Hold this. I suggest putting it like this because it kicks back a little bit.
Right.
This is called a dead man control.
Dead man?
They call it a dead man because if you pass out or you trip, it'll shut off so you don't get hit with the blast.
I don't want to do it now. I'm blasting that, not me.
Well, that's up to you. You're going to be holding the nozzle.
So I hold that.
So you hold
tell you
this.
I'm not dead.
This is a safety button. Press that in, press that down, and be ready for it to start.
Right, well, this is the business end. I need this. Okay, and I blast. Here we go, sandblasting commence. Ooh, crikey. Oh, wow, look at that.
You know, I can get used to this. It's quite therapeutic. They might have to drag me away from it.
It works. Well, of course it works. It's been working since Tillman invented it. But it's all well and good for car parts and the like. But when you want to do finer work, even sand isn't fine enough. You need to go to another level entirely. An atomic level.
You can't polish a mirror with a sandblaster. It wouldn't make it anywhere near smooth enough. For a perfectly smooth mirror, you need to fire particles that are millions of times smaller than sand at it. But how? 100 years after Tillman invents the sandblaster, optical technicians construct a blaster which fires individual atoms. Without it, Keck's mirrors wouldn't produce sharply focused images. Now the technology is also used to dissect individual cancer cells. Sharpshooter Dr. Andy Bushby shows how it works.
So this is it, isn't it? Whoa, that's your atomic blaster. What do you actually call this thing for real?
This is a dual beam environmental scanning electron microscope.
Wow. Dual beam, you see, I'm loving that. But microscope, that's just for looking at things. I want to sandblast things at an atomic level.
Well, we can do that. Because this is a dual beam microscope, we have an electron beam that comes down here that we use to look at the sample. And over here we've got an ion beam which we use to cut away the sample with great precision.
Ions are electrically charged atoms. They can cut stuff atom by atom. Andy wants to show me how. In the interests of science, one of my hairs volunteers as a guinea pig. Ow! That's my hair.
That's one of your hairs. Yes, that's where you've glued it down with some glue. And there's your hair sitting across there.
So how close can we go with this thing?
Well, we can get in there and look a little more closely. And see the size of your hair. And we can come down and look at one of these flakes.
So that filling the screen now is one of the hairs off my head.
Why don't we write your name on it?
Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, we can do that. Before your very eyes.
On a hair.
On a hair. Here we go. Now, the ion beam is delivering about 23 million atoms a second into a spot that's about 50 atoms across.
And you can see it's starting to arrive.
This picture has been magnified 5,000 times. The eye in Richard is about 1,000 atoms wide.
It really is working the same way as sandblasting is. Just dozens and millions of these things.
Right, but on a very small scale.
It's a lot smaller, yeah, it's a lot fiddlier, I'll grant. Because that's my name. I mean, barely noticeable across the width of
one hair of your head. And how do you use that then for polish?
Well, here we're coming down vertically onto the surface so that we blast away a pattern on the surface. If we wanted to polish something very smooth, then we'd fire those irons in at a very low angle to the surface so that they just knock away eye spots on the surface and leave something that's very, very smooth.
So this process that can etch my name lost in the width of a hair, you're saying is heavy duty. And if you want to have some real finesse and polish, you send it in at a more acute angle rather than perpendicular. This is your heavy engineering going.
It's heavy engineering, but at a very, very small scale, atom by atom.
And with such a perfect mirror, you won't be surprised to learn that Keck's engineers want to keep it spotless.
The Keck mirror is a very special piece of equipment. But like any mirror, once in a while, it needs cleaning. So let's go clean it. Obviously, it being the Keck mirror, you don't just walk up to it with a duster and clean it. No, there's slightly more to it. It's got to be very, very clean indeed.
Almost every night, the mirror opens to the elements. Insects, moisture, or volcanic cinders can smear and scratch the huge glass.
So this is just a jet of CO2. And you're cleaning the mirror basically.
That's correct. The snow is soft and it goes right from a solid to a gas. It doesn't go to a liquid, so it doesn't get the mirror wet.
What are you actually cleaning off? I mean, it hasn't got thumbprints on it.
The snow impacts the cinder and knocks the cinder off.
And the cinder is tiny bits of volcanic.
Correct. The cinder is really sharp, so it can remove the coating quite easily.
Technicians restore the mirror to perfection this way once a month. Thanks to Benjamin Tillman's high-speed abrasive blaster, optical engineers figure out how to fire a much finer beam of particles to polish glass perfectly. Keck's are the first telescope mirrors to be polished this way. It takes a week to polish each segment. That's 72 weeks for both the Keck mirrors. But even Keck's perfect twin mirrors can't see everything in the night sky. Vast swirling clouds of cosmic debris are completely impenetrable. So how does a Korean War spy plane help astronomers devise a new way of sensing? The Keck Observatory can see more of the cosmos than any other telescope on Earth. It can see an almost unlimited number of objects in the sky. Sheer power finds stars too dim to see with the naked eye. But vast galaxies also hide behind clouds of dust and gas. And to see them requires a new way of sensing. (1953), the Korean War. American commanders want to stop trains supplying the enemy North Korean lines. By day, the bombers can see their targets. But by night, it's a different story. They fly blind. Then comes a major breakthrough. Military engineers devise a way of literally seeing in the dark. They mount a revolutionary camera on a plane. It senses infrared radiation given off by hot objects, like locomotives. Targets are once again as clear as day. This new way of sensing in pitch blackness or through smoke and dust is called thermal imaging. Today, search and rescue teams also adopt the exact same technology. I want to put it to the test. and I come to the Honolulu Fire Department to do so. Captain Alan Carvalho shows me where they practice.
The thermal imaging helps us tremendously in a smoke-filled environment to be able for us to locate victims, see obstacles that may be involved.
So it's a pretty essential tool for you, and I guess the difference is enormous.
Definitely enormous difference between having a thermal imager and not having it when we're doing a search.
They're going to show me thermal imaging in action. First, I'm going to find a victim without thermal imaging. Meet Rescue Randy. I won't know where he is. I'm going to experience what firefighters routinely face in reality.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Shut off the lights, Dean.
Room number 13.
There you go.
A standard firefighter's torch doesn't make any difference in these conditions. Fire Chief Allen uses his own thermal imaging camera to monitor my progress.
Right, the drill is you feel it out. The wall, I found the wall. There's a wall in here. I'm completely and utterly disorientated. Yes. That's the, I don't know what that is. Is this somebody who needs my help? No, it's a thing. You can stay there. Well, I'm using all of my senses. Mostly, it must be said, touch and sight. And they're not helping. I need another sense. Was that the way I came in?
I don't even make it out of the first room by the time the 5 minutes are up. Rescue Randy would have been toast. Now I'm going to try again, this time with the thermal imaging camera. First, the officers place Randy in the sun, so he'll warm nicely. He'll emit plenty of infrared, which will show up on the thermal imager.
Now we're going to let you use our thermal imager, and you let me know how well it goes, okay? So here it is. We've rearranged the room. We have our same safety personnel set up in there. I want you to go and scan the room, see if you can find Rescue Randy a little quicker this time, okay?
It's just so disorientated.
Yeah, see how well this works, man.
Thank you. Lights out. That's dark again. It's not got any brighter. Right. Okay, well, before I do anything, armed with my camera, I'm going to scan around the room. Oh, now that's a safety person there. Hello, safety person. I didn't know there were people everywhere watching me.
Even furniture emits infrared radiation and shows up clearly.
Straight away. No, there's nobody else. There's no victim in here. So, I can move through, feeling my way, as before, into the other room, which is here. Right. Scan. Nobody there. Nope. There. That took a fraction of the time. There's no crawling around the walls to find by touch. This gave me another sense. A thermal sense.
The exact same technology that helps American pilots to pinpoint North Korean locomotives on the blackest of nights now allows firefighters to see through smoke. And 55 years later, thermal imaging also shows astronomers objects trillions of miles away, hidden behind cosmic dust. Keck's thermal imaging is so sensitive, it can detect a candle flame on the moon. And it can sense the infrared radiation from remote galaxies other observatories only dream about. But there is still one more problem for the Keck designers. caused by a star much closer to Earth. Every day, that particular star that we call the Sun does its work to warm Hawaii and turn it into a tropical paradise. And every night, as the sun sets, paradise cools down. Daily warming and cooling is hell for astronomers because their instruments expand and contract, which distorts the images. Got to do with 19th century Florida and a killer lurking in its steamy swamps. Even on the icy summit of Mauna Kea, the tropical sun can raise the temperature well above freezing during the day. Keck's mirrors would expand and contract with the daily warming and cooling. The tiniest changes to the mirror would distort the images. Engineers need to find a way to stop it warming and cooling. And that brings us neatly to our final connection. Rewind to the 1840s. Florida's swamps are home to a formidable predator. Not that, but this. The mosquito. It carries deadly yellow fever. Physician John Gorrie notices that the lethal disease erupts mostly in summer. So he wrongly assumes warm temperatures are directly to blame. He sets out to make this machine to cool rooms using a simple principle. When a gas expands, it cools down, chilling everything around it, as Dr. Chris Hill, who knows all about thermodynamics, reveals.
This is a can of ordinary deodorant, which is a gas under pressure. Go ahead and spray it on your finger and tell me what you feel.
What are you trying to tell me? Okay, right, so just spray it.
Just like that. What does it feel?
Cold, actually.
It's colder because the gas is expanding from a high pressure system to a low pressure system. It has to move the air out of the way in the volume that it's expanding into. This effort of pushing the air out of the way costs some energy. That energy comes from itself, which is its own temperature.
Right, so I'd have thought instinctively that it's cold because it's like a breeze, it's blowing past your finger. But what you're saying is then that it's under pressure in there. When it comes out, it's moving because it's expanding. And the effort of pushing the air out of the way is costing energy. And that energy has to come from its own heat.
Yeah.
So it's not the breeze, it's when it hits my finger, it is actually cold.
It is cold.
It smells lovely.
The cooling effect of expanding gas leads John Gorrie to the invention of the refrigerator and ultimately transforms astronomy. When a gas expands, it cools. A big can of compressed gas produces dramatic cooling.
Okay, what we have here is a normal mattress. Feel it, it's nice and soft and malleable.
Well, you'd expect it to be, it's a mattress.
Now let's see what happens if we fill it up with a can of compressed CO2.
Thank you.
Yep.
Safety stuff. Okay. Gloves.
Thank you.
So I'll just lay this out on the table, yeah? And then we just blow it up.
That's right.
Okay. Let me guess. I'm doing filling.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I thought of that.
Here you go.
Right. So this is just a cylinder of compressed gas. It's just a giant version of the can
deodorant.
Okay, I'll test it. Right. So that's just gas coming out. It's just expanding.
Expanding gas.
Okay. Nozzle in hole. Well, it's inflating. I can see that already, but it would. The gas is expanding out of the cylinder into there and occupying more space. Thus far, Chris, all you're proving is this is a great alternative to a foot pump.
Well, it's certainly easier.
Is it my imagination, or can I see frost forming on the top?
Yeah, the gas is cold because it's expanding. It's doing work by inflating the mattress, and therefore it's getting cold. Frost happens when things get cold.
Oh, burst it! But I haven't overfilled it or anything. It's frozen. It's completely frozen. This was It's frozen. So that's the effect of expanding gas.
Expanding gas was cold and made the rubber plastic become very brittle and it broke.
So we froze it. So expanding gas then is the secret of refrigeration. And my mattress is ruined.
Gori doesn't cure yellow fever. That comes later when people realise the role mosquitoes play. But he does pioneer refrigeration, which revolutionises our lives, and now plays a vital part in the front line of astronomy. To stop the Keck telescope from swelling and shrinking, the observatory's domes use refrigeration. Keeping the telescope at a constant temperature